8 reasons why social justice no longer means justice. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I have long considered myself somebody that is devoted to justice on both a social level, but also in the greater, more abstract sense. And I would like to think that most people feel the same way. However, what is branded as social justice in the West these days has basically nothing to do with justice anymore in many or most instances. And I will explain why I feel this way. Reason number one why it sucks is that quote unquote social justice is inextricably linked to fourth wave intersectional feminism these days, which is an inherently flawed philosophy. You see, intersectional feminism, as a philosophy, claims to look out for the individualized forms of discrimination that people face based on various forms of quote-unquote oppression, but it uses simple arithmetic to calculate how oppressed somebody might be based on sweeping generalizations correlated to certain character traits, like being a woman or being black, but rarely other character traits, like class. Very often, intersectional feminists just get things entirely wrong when calculating disadvantages. The most glaring example of this is that intersectional feminism always gives you a +1 for being privileged if you are male, and a -1 for being oppressed if you are a female. As if it's always worse in every situation to be a woman or girl than a boy or a man. In reality, gay men, for example, are several times as likely to suffer from a hate crime than lesbians. They can suffer legal discrimination or denial of medical services for being a gay male as opposed to a lesbian, and they suffer far more religious discrimination than lesbians. There's plenty of other instances where intersectionality theory is easily proved to be at least faulty, and please spare us any nonsense of saying, well, the people who say such things just don't understand intersectionality properly, because I have yet to meet an intersectional feminist who doesn't follow the mantra that men are privileged, period, and that women are oppressed, period. Reason number two that social justice is no longer fair or just is that people who follow it as an ideology are obsessed with excusing bigotry from certain groups, thereby encouraging further bigotry. We've all heard by now that black people supposedly can't be racist, even when they're physically assaulting or even torturing white people for being white. Now, social justice advocates will say that they don't condone torturing people, of course, but they'll still find wormy little ways of somewhat excusing it, or blaming Trump for the fact that 4 young black people kidnapped and tortured a white man with special needs. A young white man. He might have even not been an adult. And yes, this actually did happen. Social justice advocates, or social justice warriors, will also commonly say that you can't be sexist against men, which is ridiculous at face value because that's saying that one half of the population cannot be prejudiced against the other half, or that when it happens, it's reduced to some insignificant form of mild fuckery that isn't really worth mentioning. Bottom line, when you make any amount of an excuse for shitty behavior, even if it's a small semantic technicality of saying something is not racist or sexist based on the skin color or gender of the perpetrator or victim of said abuse, you are actually somewhat encouraging this bigotry. When you say that it's worse when one person does something shitty than when another person does something shitty, it's basically like saying you're a tiny bit glad that these people did something shitty, even if you won't admit it. Reason number 3 that people who advocate for what is called social justice don't actually want justice is that they'll censor things they disagree with. They shut down speakers at universities that they don't like, usually without actually knowing anything about them besides 1 or 2 quotes that they've heard through basically the rumor mill. Or because the speaker isn't intersectional, like they used to call Christina Hoff Sommers a racist. They'll even protest documentary films like The Red Pill, simply because it gives men's rights advocates a fair hearing, even though the filmmaker doesn't identify as a men's rights activist herself. It's maddening, and if they could, they'd probably censor this video. Reason number 4 that social justice is now a messed up cult of creepiness is that they'll do their best to make indoctrination into the ideology mandatory. They do this at universities all the time, not just with classes and trainings that they literally force students to take, but even in high school, they'll do this. These social justice trainings are often filled to the brim with false information, like that white people can't experience racism, or that 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 women get raped on college campuses, which was based on a faulty study whose creators retracted it in Time magazine themselves. Reason number 5 that these people just suck is that they'll flat out lie about anybody who counters their narrative. And trust me, most of the time they know damned well that they are doing it. Find any article written in a feminist publication about the men's rights movement, or even a feminist article written about self-identified feminists like Christina Hoff Sommers who criticize fourth wave intersectional feminism, and it will be full of misinformation designed to completely distract you from anything that these people might actually be saying. First, read Lindy West's heinously callous article about why she won't take the men's movement seriously, and then listen to what any of the people mentioned in her article actually really have to say, especially Karen Strawn. No, Lindy is not so stupid that she just wrote this hit piece on accident. She was smearing them deliberately, because trying to ensure that people don't listen to their arguments will help her career as a professional feminist. In many instances, Lindy West is not searching for any sort of justice. She is a selfish career opportunist that knowingly lies to people and about people under the guise that she's fighting for equality. Sorry, but you've made yourself famous and relatively wealthy by whining about how hard it is to be a fat white girl. Lindy, you could at least allow people to hear from legitimate activists like Karen Strawn once in a while without fucking lying about her. Reason number 6 that social justice isn't searching for social justice is that it's all based around politics. The easiest way to describe this is that feminists go above and beyond to constantly say that Islam is not misogynistic or homophobic, which we all know isn't true. Why do they say that? Well, some people would say that it's because Muslims are a minority in the West. And sure, a lot of people are probably defending Islam because Muslims are a minority here. However, if you trace it up to the top, it's pretty clear something bigger is going on. You see, considering Hillary Clinton took so much money from Islamic governments like Saudi Arabia, because Clinton Incorporated has many ties to oil from the Mideast, it's pretty obvious to see the conflict of interest. This isn't about social justice for Muslims, or for LGBT people, or women for that matter. It's about business as usual for corrupt politicians. Reason number 7 that this social justice rhetoric is royally screwed up is that they seem to be demanding equality of outcome, which is not justifiable. Equality of opportunity is something that we should definitely strive for, but that is rarely what people are looking for. These people will go out of their way to give certain groups of people entitlements in terms of scholarships, hiring quotas, and grants simply because they belong to a historically marginalized group, penalizing people who actually do work hard for things simply because they want to look like they are diverse. This has happened before in the Soviet Union, and it resulted in the death of many millions of people. I suggest looking into the work of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson if you want to know more about how this works. Again, I am not against equality of opportunity, and I think some people deserve help on occasion. But they have to deserve it by putting in some amount of legitimate effort. The 8th and final reason that quote-unquote social justice is a scam is that it demands that you lie to yourself. If you are a racial minority, social justice psychos will attempt to get under your skin and make you paranoid about microaggressions, tricking you into starting to care about basically meaningless interactions with people who never meant to offend you, as if getting bent out of shape about somebody asking where you are from or complimenting your hair will make you a happier person. If you are a male, they'll make you submit to the notion that you have constant male privilege, even in situations where you are being treated worse than women because of your gender, which are too numerous to mention in this video. Social justice culture will not make you happy, and I have an entire video about that which I will link in the description. So if there is any reason to detach yourself from the bullshit, it would be that. It won't make you happy. Drop me a comment and stay tuned.